Hey, welcome to Help Build Your Own Home. A little less than a year ago, the house that was here was burned down. You can see from the tree right here, half that tree was singed really bad. So in less than a year from the anniversary of the fire, we got a new home built. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things I did to prepare for it in the event of another fire. One of the best things you can do for fire prevention is to really beef up the exterior. And it's not that difficult. All right. If you notice right here, this here is hardy material, which is really the cement board. But behind that, I've got 1.5 inches of rigid mineral wall. But the caveat is you have to flash your windows. So if you can see how much more recessed the windows are. So I've got to flash that because the insulation is pushing the exterior siding material further out. So you got to flash everything to accommodate for that. But this here, it's going to be here for a very long time. One other thing I did, I'll show you over this way. I was just, when you have an open cavity, you think of all the interesting things you can do. And so I talked with my plumbers, I put together the parts, they put it all together, and this here is just a simple sprinkler system on the roof. So when I turn that on, it turns the sprinklers, and I've got two heads up there. That's all I really needed, facing toward the two trees that are still adjacent to the home. So it was a quick addition to the home. I'll teach the fire department locally how to deal with that. And this is only on during the high risk season, during the summer times. And then I'll show you how to turn it off in the wintertime and drain it down below. Let's go inside. Okay, we're in the mechanical room here, and you know I talk a lot about mechanical room. I've got tankless water in here. I've got the whole water system, which we're going to go over. And I've got my electric panel behind the door. You always want to put your electric panel behind the door. Why? Because that makes sure that it's unobstructed. You should be able to get to the panel, turn things off really quickly without stepping over brooms and vacuums and all that kind of stuff. Always put your electrical behind the door, and that includes your low voltage. So behind here, I've got both behind the door. Okay? And then I wanted to go over this here. I like to solve as many problems as I can. Most people don't put a fire suppression system on the outside of the home, especially if it freezes. Well, the higher risk in a mountain area is the summertime. So all they have to do is keep this on during the summertime. Then during the winter, when the winter comes, like November, early part of December, they go ahead and turn it off. But when they turn that off, you go ahead and shut off the main, which is right here, and here's the sweet spot. Everything's going to drain. I got a floor drain over there. The entire house is draining that quick. And it's a great way to manage the home, also for freezing temperatures. So again, we're going to put this back on. And we're good. Now we're back to normal, the way you want to run this during the summer. You just change everything around for the wintertime. Very quick and easy. Now I've got two floor drains in here. One for the condensation, which is for the forced air system. And I've got another floor drain over behind the shelving system over here. Again, so that I can easily drain the entire system without it getting on the floor anywhere. And I've got my, again, forced air system, hot water, electric, all in the mechanical room here. And this forced air system is taking care of the entire main floor. The rooms downstairs, which we'll show you in a minute, they'll be taken care of by mini split systems, which we'll show you here in just a second. Okay, when it comes to the heating and air conditioning of homes, I've been finding, especially in the climate in which I'm built in the mountains, I found that a mini split system combined with a forced air system is pretty cool. Especially if the forced air is on one level and the mini splits are separated into actual living quarters like this bedroom here. So I've actually got a mini split system here I can turn on, and as long as all of them are on heat, which is where all of them are in the basement, then anyone can just turn it on, change the temperature they want inside their room. When you try to heat a basement, part of the basement is walkout. Some of the part of the basement is not walkout. It's encased into the hillside a little more. Each room is going to be different. It's just the way it's going to be, especially this room here. I've got storage rooms, laundry rooms, mechanical rooms, all that they're buried in there. And I don't really need to have to heat that. So that's an extra cost that I don't need. They're all inside what's called conditioned space. Conditioned space is, imagine all this is space that you're going to heat and keep cool. Well, if there's a little room inside that, just a small room, that is considered conditioned space, meaning it's inside the area that you're actually heating. It's like a Mickey Mouse balloon. If you can imagine a Mickey Mouse balloon, there's a small Mickey Mouse balloon inside a larger balloon. That larger balloon is creating the conditioned space to protect Mickey Mouse, all right? That's conditioned space. So anyway, mini splits work great for that. Okay, one of the weakest spots for a fire is, of course, open access into the frame structure. So here I've got a deck over here, and I'm going to go upstairs and show you that, but it's completely sealed off, and it's painted, and they caulked it. So embers and whatnot can't flow up and get into any frame structure. There's no way it can get over here, no way it can get over here, and even these lights have gaskets on them, so embers and the heat and smoke can't get up inside the lights. I also oversize beams quite a bit. It's just something I do. If you've looked at any fires, like fires they've had in California or a lot of other places, people say that's not a real fire. Look at the trees, they're still standing. Well, that's because this has got a huge amount of fire rating. For every inch, there's a certain rating of how much it can withstand a fire and for how long. And so you could put a 4x4 post in here and it could structurally hold everything I've got above it, especially with the lightweight roof I've got up there. But when I oversize those, it actually fends off fire. If you notice in the forest, just up here, just across the street, all the trees are still standing, but all the leaves and branches and needles, they're gone. So again, I don't worry too much about exposed timber as long as they've got a lot of density to them. Helps out quite a bit. Let's go on the deck above. And now we're upstairs here on that deck that we were just below. Again, you see that this here is actually a concrete deck. It's got several layers on it, a fold membrane below all that. Water, moisture, so never going to get through this deck. I don't like doing open porch decks, slatted decks, wood decks. Stay away from that. Why? It's a maintenance nightmare. It's going to rot over time. It's shorter than you think. Hard to keep up. Here you've got a solid membrane over all the framing structure, and that membrane goes up behind the wall, and then you put, of course, your siding material on top of it. So literally, embers could land on this, and it's not going to do anything to it, because I've got about 3/4 of an inch of lath, wire lath, concrete, more concrete, then finally some color coat on top of all that. So it just doesn't get to it. Of course, your railings are not wood, not a hard thing to maintain, and I do not like to have railings land on the deck. We have snow up here, and they have to shovel the snow. So you notice I've got about 6 inches of clearance. If I can shovel the snow underneath there, and the neat thing is I'm not going to have this thing rust on the deck. Have you ever seen railings where they tend to rust or decay down where they're landing on the frame structure? If you can keep your posts tight enough, 8 foot on center or so, or beef up your railing, then you can actually use all that beefed up material to land your railing on. So it's really, really helpful. These are weird things I think about, because I think, oh my goodness, I'm going to be old someday. I don't want to have to maintain something. So what can I do to avoid that? And how can I make shoveling snow easier? I just think about weird stuff like that. So anyway, this here is a beautiful home. We just finished a couple of things I did to it. I'm pleased. I'm happy that we restored the home to a better place. And I can drive by this home and always feel confident. So nothing's going to take this down unless it's an act of God. This is Keith with How to Build Your Home, talking about the Pinestead South project.